Every single time, as soon as I'm ready to stream, the dogs always need to go out and use the restroom. Without exception. You just know it's going to happen. And it's no different right now. So, sorry for the extra few seconds here. Just sort of waiting for the dogs to be ready to come in, and then I'll be ready to roll. In the meantime, how is everybody doing today? Hope y'all doing great. It is a beautiful Tuesday. What is it, like 1 o'clock right now? 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Oh man, this isn't the first 60-degree plus day, but it is the first one since I've been streaming for this year at least. I mean, you think about it, it is March, what, 9th? And it's been cold. It has been cold. We're still in the winter, but we're at the end of winter. I can see spring right on the horizon, man. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple more cold days, and you know, March and even April can have a couple snow showers, but right now forecasts are pretty good. And you know, this winter didn't disappoint. Sometimes winters are just oh, they can just be so cold. I mean, like I am definitely a guy who believes in conservation. I believe in taking care of the environment. I believe that humans have an impact on climate. And I grew up in Ohio before becoming a California kid. I'm 100% a California kid, by the way. I make no qualms about that, nor do I try to hide it. But I am back in Ohio now. And, you know, what I remember as a kid in Ohio, and this is probably like childhood memories, they're always exaggerated. But I just remember like blizzards every year lasting for like 17 months. You know, but the truth is, you know, I come back now, and this is maybe like the second real winter I've had. The winter before last and the one before that, and pretty much all the ones that I've had since I've been back in Ohio have been fairly warm and much more rainy, much more, actually a whole lot more in common with a California winter than the Ohio winters I remember. So maybe you can hear my dogs, they're barking. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back and we'll get rolling on this. I'm back. Thanks for being patient. There are endless studies that seem to suggest, they don't seem to suggest, they state quite clearly that the air inside of your house is way more polluted than the air outside of your house. So if you've been like me and you have spent the last 3, 4, maybe 5 months or more with your windows closed, trying to keep the heat in, do yourself a favor and do what I'm doing right now, which is opening every window you own. I am just going around real quick. I'm just getting all these windows open because, I'm ready. I'm ready for it not to be cold, and it's not. And I'm ready for some fresh air. Springtime also brings two other things that kind of excite and annoy me. Being a photographer, one of the first things I want to do is just get out in nature and just experience it again. You know what I mean? Like, see the things. I don't care if there are no leaves. Sometimes it just feels good to sort of see the dead world, right before it comes back to life. That's the part I always look forward to. The part that I don't look forward to is that every other person in, also has the same level of cabin fever, and they also want to get out. So it both, the spring encompasses one of my favorite things with one of my least favorite things. My favorite thing being out there in nature, kind of seeing stuff and just enjoying it. My least favorite thing being people, which is a terrible thing to admit to. I am a people person, but I'm not a people's person. I'm not a big fan of large groups of just meandering folk. All of my favorite secluded places are slowly becoming very popular. So I guess that's just the way it works, right? I'm a big fan of national parks, and perhaps the only saving grace of living back here in the Ohio area is a wonderful, truly wonderful national park called Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and it is magical. It really is just an amazingly beautiful place. Very underrated, I think. It lacks mountains and roaring, massive rivers, and the valley part is perhaps slightly overstated, but it's basically a small version of any great park with some really beautiful things. The Cuyahoga River sort of meanders through it, and it's very hard to explain. It's not like in the grand sense, like it's not like the Grand Canyon or Yosemite where you park at one end and this vast expanse sort of crawls and sprawls before you. It's the grandeur of places like Yellowstone and Yosemite and the Grand Canyon that really sort of make those places special. What kind of makes Cuyahoga special is in some ways the intimacy of it and the smallness and the little quiet spots. That's the parts that I really, really enjoy about Cuyahoga. And if you've ever been to Yosemite, there aren't a whole lot of times where it doesn't have a lot of people. We used to joke that the worst time to go was the time everybody always thinks is the best time to go, right? Like, oh, we'll go like the week after, spring vacation, because everybody will be back in school. But the thing is, everybody has that idea. So nobody's in school. They're all at Yosemite, right? So, we had to learn to sort of truly go and at times where where it was, really strange. Like basically go a month after school starts. Or better yet, go like a month and 3 weeks because it's just such a random time. And then you could get there, it would still be filled because there's, it's a tourist spot. But one of the things I've always loved about the Grand Canyon, or not Grand Canyon, Cuyahoga, is that it is very sort of like, it's quiet. It's quiet. It doesn't have a massive amount of people there. Until recently, the pandemic really sort of, I think there's this rule that as soon as you tell people not to do things, the first thing they want to do is do them, right? This like contrarian nature that humans have of like, oh, you won't control me. And it affects everybody, both the responsible and the irresponsible. So, an outdoor area, everybody said it was fairly safe, for the virus, no problems. Just go out there, open spaces, you're not going to get a disease, whatever. The whole point of what I'm trying to say here is like, the CDC has always said that if you're in kind of a wide open space, you're safe. So when I had some calls about doing some high school senior portraits, I was like, oh, you know where we should go? Because this was happening right in the fall. I was like, the place to go would be Cuyahoga. Let's go there. It'll be quiet. It's wide open. It's safe. We'll drive separate cars. We won't be transmissible. It'll be awesome. Well, that is a good idea. And we did come up with great photos. But what we also had, which I totally did not expect, was absolutely more people than I have ever seen in my life combined in all of my visits to Cuyahoga. I go to this place called the Ledges. Oh, you get him, Fiefers. Can you see this little dog playing over here? It's ridiculous. Get him. Get him, Fief. Get him. Get that toy. Oh, you get him. I love my dogs. Normally you go to this place called Ledges, and there might be 20 people there. And it's a massive place. I mean, this is just, thousands of acres of trees and really cool cliff faces and just awesomeness. And I was like, this will be easy. Nobody will be there. But I was completely wrong. Everybody was there. Like, there was no parking in the parking lot. People, like, there's like a 2-mile drive, and people were parked on both sides of this 2-mile drive, basically turning it into this really sort of semi-treacherous 1-lane road that people had to sort of, navigate. It was insane. I even got a ticket from a park ranger on the way out. I was like, you turds. I mean, I know you're doing your job, but you guys are turds. So if you know anybody who is a park ranger at Cuyahoga National Park, please let them know I think they're a turd. I admire everything that they do, and I think it's great, but they're still a turd. Sorry. And if you don't like that, then don't give me a ticket. Deal. Wow, look at that. Look at the detail on these things. That's crazy. Look at that. We are using a 100 millimeter we're using a 100 millimeter macro lens here. And this is letting us get in really close to these rocks and really see a lot of stuff. Now, we are working in RAW, so these things tend to come out really flat when you take these pictures, but you kind of get in here, sort of find maybe the profile that brings out the most color, and then take off my glasses real quick here. By the way, how's everybody doing? Wave to y'all. Close that. And this might be a case where you just bring a little bit of texture. I mean, that just, Isn't that just crazy what these things look like? And they must be fairly delicate because I did notice that they are wrapped up. They are wrapped up tight. So I'm just guessing that they have a fair bit amount of delicateness to them. Bring that vibrancy up a little bit. And where are we on our clipping? I mean, we're ways off. We're ways off. Almost 2 whole stops. I think that's fine. I think that's going to be fine. So we're just going to do this. We're going to take these photos. And I've got all these points here. And they are, like I said, they are all individually wrapped in bubble wrap. And it just makes me very nervous because they must be exceedingly delicate. So we will be very careful. I'll do my best to respect and for something like this, I will autofocus on the camera. And with macro lens, it's you have to focus constantly. Look at that. That looks so nice. That looks so nice. Whew. I don't know what that white powder is. I'm going to go ahead and stop touching it. I am sure it is not asbestos. I am going to go wash my hands there in a second. I mean, it's like, you're working with geological material. If you think I have any clue what most of this stuff is, you are wrong. I mean, all I know is that somebody is out there mining it. So I'm hoping to God if it's safe enough for them. It's usually like calcium, calcite. And quite often it's some sort of like slurry because they use like wet processes to mine things, get them cleaned up or whatever, get them ready for whatever it is that they do here. So my plan is as follows. I'm going to keep the bubble wrap. Just put it off to the side here. And then once we get all these sort of unwrapped and photographed, I'll do sort of like this cool little field where they all just sort of one thing I wish I could do is tell the camera to back button focus from the software. That would be nice. That would be nice. I think if I had, and maybe I should do that, we could probably turn focusing back on the shutter release button. I have it turned off because I am a back button focusing guy. That's just how I prefer to do things. But we would have to touch the camera a lot less. And A, we don't want to get the camera dirty. B, we don't want to move the camera because we don't want to constantly accidentally readjust sort of its positioning. But also, I don't want camera shake. Camera shake no bueno. We usually shoot in live view mode, which means it's sort of like silent shooting, sort of mirror lockup mode. And that's nice because it introduces very little. It should introduce like no camera shake. But also because I'm using a flash, I think that means that it does in fact still use the shutter, so bummer. Look at I mean, these are really beautiful, and it'll create a really cool sort of field photo once we're all done here. How many do we got here? 1, 2. I don't want to do like a million of these. There's no point. What do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do one more. On the back of my screen, I've got like you can't see them in Lightroom, but I've got my little 2/3, you know, the rule of thirds grid on the back. That's kind of helping me maintain their positions, which is nice. All right. Now we'll just get the rest of these out of here. Let's just unwrap all of them. Just being like paranoid by how delicate these are. Okay, and there we go. I mean, at this point, I'm just like, well, they're probably like this for a reason. You know what I mean? So now what I'm going to try to do is kind of do an alternating up-down pattern where everything is fairly lined up. And actually, that's so far not so bad. And in photography, you know, somebody would call this like styling. What we used to call this, which I think is more accurate, is just we called it making something out of nothing. How's that? Is that better? Yeah, it's a little better. This is a very sort of organic type of a product photography shoot where it's like, oh, you know, just make something out of this, something interesting. All right, and then I got a reflector around here somewhere. It was just standing up. Did I move it somewhere? Ah, I did. It's over here. This reflector just helps me sort of put a little extra color here on the bottom side. So when I take a picture, it's a little more even. Look at that. That's pretty cool, huh? I mean, that's cool. I don't know what else to say. It's cool. Let's do this. Let us switch back over to our 50 millimeter. We were doing the 100 millimeter to get in close. Not incredibly important now that we've kind of got the individual shots. So I like to use a little canned air before I swap. And then I try to be really deliberate with getting my lenses on. And then I will also hit the outgoing lens, put its lens cap on, so then it's just a contained package again. I just think that's a better way of doing things. And then just to give you an idea of how much different the zoom is, here's the picture with the 100 millimeter on the screen now. Let's get the 50 millimeter so you can see just how much more space a 50 millimeter has. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? And you know, that's kind of a cool picture in itself too. So how many do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's perfect because what I'm going to want to do is the following. So I'm going to go like this. Let's get the middle. Where's the middle at? This guy is the middle, right? being both careful and paranoid all at the same time. I mean, anything that's wrapped up as delicately as these were, I can only suspect that they have value. And you should always respect other people's properties to begin with. But, you know, right now more so than others, right? Because I don't want to be financially responsible for things that I know that in other circumstances I could easily just break. You got your toy fiefers? The fief. Where's your toy at? All right, so that's kind of cool. That's kind of a big, it's almost like a forensic photo, the way that I got these things sort of laid out here. Like a museum archival photo type of thing going on here. Sophia, what are you doing? You gonna get him? You gonna get him? Go get him. Where's your toy? Sophia, get your toy. Oh, can you not get across? She had a spinal injury at some point, so walking is not the easiest thing for her. Well, walking isn't so bad, although it always looks like she's trying to fail a sobriety test, a field sobriety test every time she walks. She doesn't seem to be in any pain. She never complains, never yips. I think it's just like kind of a numbness. I mean, that's cool. I think that kind of stuff is cool. I really dig that kind of stuff. All right, so we're gonna go like this. I'm gonna get one more picture here. All right, and then what I'm going to do for variety is I'm just going to rotate these things, like, you know, wherever they sort of fit. Try to get a 180, but I'll take a 90 or a 45 at this point. Look at that. Everything here was backwards. I mean, how drunk is that, right? Well, that means everything is backwards. Yeah. That's it. We're not gonna sacrifice that other one, but I'm just saying that was weird. All right, rotate these. Oh, this one, yes, definitely. This one over here, sure, of course, no problems. This one, rotate it all the time. Don't even know what you're talking about. All right, let's see how's it looking. Does it look like somebody cares? I think it does. It looks nice. Looks very nice. Very nice. All right, let's not hit the lights. Hit those lights. All right, here we go. Photo. Boom. I might need to get my reflector up there though. Let's get this guy up. Get this guy off the screen. Up. I just don't want any of them like kind of hanging off. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if they're just barely touching, but just trying to give them all equal screen time here. Yep, that looks nice. Nice. So now I'm going to take individual crystals, and I'm just going to delicately put them in my hand like this. And then take a picture. And that looks nice. Let's get another one here. Delicately get a pictorial. Nice. Super nice. Extra nice. Let's use this one. This is a nice one. Oh, he's so pretty. He's so Gucci. All right. And that's hard because I'm sort of like holding my hand up. There, now you know what my hand looks like. Steal my fingerprints. commit crimes. Crimes against humanity. Maybe a bank. Or something. Alright, now I'm going to carefully put these all back into a bag. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you, not after sort of looking at this, it's not like they were super thought out there, so I'm going to put a little extra energy into protecting these guys. Oh, there we go. That guy's good. They're just sort of in there by compression, it feels like. This guy like that. This guy like that. You would think these would be like taped shut, or maybe in like one of those little foam slidey pouches, but a lot of these things come from like crazy places. You know what I mean? Like Peru, which is fairly normal. Some of them come from Pakistan. I'm not sure where these come from. All right, get that guy in there like that. Just carefully putting him in. I wonder if like the people who wrap these put as much delicate care into it as I do. Like if they're even anywhere near as worried about them as I am. I feel like I have a responsibility to it. They're probably like, whatever, dude. I wrap like 40 of these every second. Get in there, lad. Here we go. All right, well, we're almost. I mean, these actually went really well. Words. Fun little words. Yeah, me and words, we don't always get along the best. My mouth doesn't articulate as well as I'd liked it to. That's a nice one. All right, he's wrapped up. We're almost done with these. And here we go. 1 and 2. So once I get this done here, I am going to drop these off downstairs and get us more to photograph. Sound cool? Everybody down with that? All right. Maybe we'll try on this fan too. It already smells so much. But I mean, like, look, I'm not the world's stinkiest dude, but I live with 3 dogs, and they're not the world's least stinkiest dogs, if you know what I'm saying. I'll be right back. Oh, the feefers. What's up, baby girl? What? Where's your toy? Oh, we got more things here. Not only is her back a little bad, but she got one tooth. So every time she plays, it just sort of flies out. Gwen, drop. Don't be a bully. Gwen's like, I'll do whatever I want, Dad. All right, whatever. Okay, so if you've been here for previous streams, you've been here for the strands. Oh boy. And we're back. This is the never-ending part of this journey for me. All right. So the whole concept with the strands are that we take photos with them in a circle. Here we go. There's a hair in there that's not mine, and it's not my dog's, so, you know, luckily it's not soup. Otherwise, we might be puking right now, going, Bleh! I'm trying to get this thing sort of positioned here in das Mittel. Das is German for the, as far as I know, and if it's not, then then I am das wrong. Okay, here we go. Let's get a picture. Oops, wrong button. Here we go. And let's get a picture. Click. These are always a little bit more difficult because, what is going on? Yo, hello. I can't even tell you why that's true. Intro screen. Pause on intro. Oh, I don't know what's going on here, but whatever. Oh, I get it. I see what's happening here. I didn't even realize. I'm not very smart. Okay, so anyway, I had to pull up my preview screen. It's really bright. It's really, really, really bright. So we have a couple options. One is, I've got a little device over here that allows me to control the power. So one thing we could do is, let's take a quick picture of where we are here. I can either turn up the bottom light and turn way back the top light, and sometimes that lets the saturation, it keeps the bottom still bright. Yeah, it's not really that big of a difference, is it? Let's bring that back. These are not going to be an easy one. These are not going to be an easy one. Maybe this is a case of bring that up, bring this down. Nope, that certainly is not the key to success. This is about the most green we've gotten out of it so far, I think. One of the things that you have to understand, though, when I talk about our considerations, that's pretty close to where we started. In fact, it might be a little bit better where we were. Let me try this real quick. Yeah, maybe we'll go with this. Let me see what the surface highlights look like. Oh no, that's still better, isn't it? Or is it? It's like being in the doctor's office where you're like 1 or 2, 1 or 2? Yeah, probably gonna go with 2. Slightly better. So here's what we have to deal with, because we also have to get these things um, whited out. We got to murder them out with white, because they need to be able to be on pure white, edge to edge. Because if you take a white image and you put it on a white background, well, if that white image doesn't have a perfectly white background, you are bummed. One thing we could do sometimes is you can come down to the luminance. Yeah, see, that's what we'll do. And we can do it for that. Even the aqua, where'd the aqua go? Oh, yeah. And this is the magic of modern, like, the ability to sort of pull out selectively all these bits of color. It's really helpful. Modern software has come so far. Like, it's hard to even explain to somebody who hasn't used Lightroom from the start, or another similar program, just how far it's come. There are some programs that were just blindingly ahead of their time. So far, I truly believe that you can be so far ahead of your time that people don't even realize it. Like, there's a program I use all the time called Lightroom, or not Lightroom, After Effects. And After Effects is one of those programs where it gets updated continuously, but the updates are almost like these surface tweaks, right? They're like the obligatory features that you have to add in. Making sure 4K video works, making sure you can do some sort of VR editing inside of it, new file formats, better support for, like, say, 3D objects, sort of like these surface upgrades that any program to stay competitive needs to have. But there's all this subsurface complexity that's been there, and basically has been completely undocumented except for the most ardent of users, that you wouldn't realize that this program is anywhere near as powerful as it is. A lot of the programs that you might be using, like After Effects, no joke, I believe, in 100% sincerity, is a much more powerful photo editing package than Photoshop in 100 million different ways. Photoshop is a terrible UI experience. It is an absolutely terrible UI experience. Now, that's a weird thing to say, because After Effects is also an absolutely terrible UI experience. You could even argue that it's worse. However, After Effects is consistently terrible. Like, everything is sort of hidden within, effects and filters and plugins, but everything is hidden within effects, filters, and plugins. With Photoshop, it's like there's 37,000 different panels that all look differently. They're constantly changing the way that you sort of interact with the bits and pieces, granted, to try to make it better. But then everything, the old ways are also grandfathered in there. Like, I feel like there needs to be sort of a Photoshop next. You know what I mean? Because, like, right now they've got Lightroom Classic and Lightroom Mobile, Lightroom CC. And I feel like there needs to be a Photoshop next, where everything is sort of redesigned from the bottom up. And you basically tell everybody, hey, we're going to support old Photoshop with all these new features for the next, whatever, 2 years. But on year 3, that's your last year. And everything kind of going past that, we're going to be, working with Photoshop next. So you better get your crap in gear. You got to be careful, though, because, Lightroom CC versus Lightroom Classic. Lightroom Classic is far superior to Lightroom CC. Like, I've got so many photos, it's just not applicable to have everything on the damn cloud, man. I mean, when you're moving fast in photography, like the concept of like uploading things to the cloud, waiting for things to upload from the cloud, editing from the cloud, sharing my final edits on the cloud, definitely. 100% of the time, no point in doing it any other way. The cloud is the way to go. But to edit from the cloud, come on, man. Calm down. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And it's hard to ever really be there because for a long time, the internet grew faster than the technology around it. So, for example, you had these JPEGs and GIFs or GIFs, however you like to call it, and video files and Flash, and the world sort of revolved around how do we work with a slow internet. So for a long time, everybody developed around the concept of the internet is slow. How do I get my content up there? And that's why things like Flash rose to dominance, because now, I can do like kind of real streaming animated content that's tiny and readily available, and people can, sort of watch it fairly quickly, even on a 56K modem. Cool. And then we supported that stuff for years. And then the internet, quietly in the background, was sort of becoming amazing. It was becoming fast. Prices were basically dropping to the point where speeds were available to a lot of people. Things became very competitive-wise. And then all of a sudden, companies like YouTube can come into dominance because those file formats that were just too bulky for standard internet can be used pretty much by everybody. And that's cool, right? We love that kind of stuff. But the thing was, it's like a lot of those file formats, they had been lagging behind because they were accommodating for a slow internet, and then the internet sped up. And then shit got fucking crazy because as soon as the internet sped up, people were like, well, we can drop the bullshit. I don't have to optimize so heavily for slow. I'm just going to assume that everybody is fast. And that's what everybody did. They started to, sort of felt like, in order to keep pace with the internet, they could pretty much do whatever they wanted to without having to worry about it. And it's kind of a leapfrog because we're at a point now like where file sizes from some of the new cameras are massive, man. Like you can get a file size out of your camera that's larger than my first hard drive by several orders. You know what I mean? Like 10 times larger, maybe more than my first hard drive. I mean, I was watching Lord of the Rings, the making of, and they were like, when they were editing in the field, they're like, we're struggling to get 1.5 terabytes of storage. Bro, can you imagine struggling to get 1.5 terabytes of storage? I mean, that's not a struggle anymore. I just bought 5 terabytes for $150 for my photos because I'm filling up terabytes of storage. I mean, hand over fist with video, with files, with all that stuff, you know. And there's no way a cloud computing based software could ever match my storage. I would love it. I mean, if I had the world's best internet connection and money was no issue and I could buy like 100 terabytes of storage just so I didn't have to think about it, it would be awesome. But that is not the case. You know, to buy 100 terabytes of storage usually costs, a fairly good amount of money on a monthly basis, which is kind of bunk when you think about it. Like, why can't I just buy, like, let me spend 150 bucks for 5 terabytes of storage. That's now mine. You host it, and then now I will pay you the transfer fee. I would rather be limited by, say, speed, because here's the thing. I'm never, at least not currently, am I ever going to max out my throughput. Anyway, that's a bunch of really nerdy shit we just talked about. Let's get back to photography. That was boring. Ugh. Storage. Eek. Alright, so when we do these photos, I like doing it kind of the way that we're doing it, which is sort of like circle, 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 and then we sort of do like these lines. Oh, you know what I should do? I should do this real quick before I start wiggling and jiggling too much. Let me do this. Let me line that back up like that, and then we need to get it's important to kind of have these hand photos too. Let me see if that looks. Forgot our thing here. Let's get that back in here. For the most part, like, you'll notice that I kind of forgot our reflector for a lot of these photos. Now I'm going to have to go back and do sort of a gradient, but you can see that just the massive amount of color fill that applies to the hand when I do these like that. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right, so what I like to do is I drape these over my hands, semi-Mardi Gras style. Crystals everywhere, going left, going right, looking so nice. All right. Looking good, and then I'm going to do another one like that. Again, sort of snaking back and forth. They just tend to look the best. A little bit more dynamic than static. All right, who's down there rubbing past my pinion? You're such a turd. All right, and then I'm going to get like one that's kind of rolled up, and then we will have all of these done. Here we go. These can be just so much work. These can be so much work to do, because it's like, well, you've seen me. We've been talking for like, what, an hour just to get through like some points. I'm going to take off my shit. I'm taking off my shit, Gavna. All right, so I am wearing by far the skankiest t-shirt known to man, but I love my old Nine Inch Nails t-shirt. This is literally like the second t-shirt I ever bought with my own money. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy to think about? Like, I bought this mother effer when I was 18. I mean, we should see who the manufacturer. Are there holes in the armpit? There's like a little hole here, which I'm sure I did. Just making sure that we're good. The pits smell fine. Getting it all put together here, love. I got this pack of cards over here that we need to photograph. But, sucker, before we does and before we do's, I like to get a couple photos that are like a little wild. I just kind of take the strands. Why are people doing that all of a sudden? Have you noticed that? Like, people, for their S's, they're starting to, like, SH it. They're starting to give it to Sean Connery. And they're like, the strange. Gotta get to the strange latte. And I'm just like, why? Why is this a thing? But I hear everybody doing it. I mean, first of all, I have lisped my S's since I was a young child, to the point where I used to go to speech therapy, which I'm sure you can tell, I still have that S lisp, because I say my S's with my tongue between my teeth like a snake. So it's like, whereas most people say their S's behind their teeth, like I'm doing right now. So here's me saying my S's the correct way. Hello, my name is Ben, and I'm saying my S like a normal person. And then here's me, I'm saying my name like I always say my name. By the way, my name Ben has no S's in it, so I don't know why I'm saying my name. Ugh. These might look all like kind of off kilter and cattywampus, but that's fine. I mean, like, these are strands. I end up cropping them down and then straightening them out. I always have. It's just way easier than trying to get everything sort of lined up inside the camera frame. Ain't nobody got time for that. And now my favorite part is putting them back in the little bags. That's why we do this. This is usually where, like, the ADHD kicks in, and it is kicking in hard right now. I cannot tell you how much I just don't want to be sitting here. Like, and first of all, I should just say, it's not this, what I'm doing right now. This is actually fun stuff, like streaming, chatting, taking photos, specifically of these, is both fun and weirdly rewarding. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but it is. But for me, being as ADHD as I am, and I take absolutely no medications for that, because that's just not my style. It's not who I am. If you do, good for you. If you don't have ADHD, probably even better. But man, sometimes just sitting here and doing something repetitive, I'm gone. I'm checking out. Go like this, over here like this, like that. Wombat. Alright, go like this. Ta-da! And that is what it's like to do one strand. And so far as strands have go, we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've done more than that. I don't know where the other ones are. I just don't know. I don't know. These aren't the... No, these definitely... Oh my god! Wait till you see these. This is an amazing... Like, no joke. I mean, this looks like a fucking Christmas tree. Look at these things. It's great. My girlfriend hates colored crystals because she's super metaphysical. You know, I'm not. I'm super scientific. So I don't necessarily believe in the metaphysical side of things, and that's all cool. That's just me. My girlfriend, on the other hand, is like, you know, she feels the feelings of the crystal. She's like, they're sad. But I'm like, man, how could you be sad when you look like this? Check this out. 1, 2, 3. Look at this picture. Look at these things. It is like a Christmas tree. Wow, that's crazy. Let me move this back, turn it around. 1, 2, 3, boom. Like, you know, if you're me and you're a big color nerd, this stuff is cool. Like the things that she hates, I think is cool. So, but I've noticed that's just kind of how she and I roll. I'm like, that's cool. She's like, I hate it. And I'm like, haha. Okay. All right. All right. All right, here we go. Another star burst of color coming at your face. Probably don't have to. They're all on the same plane. I probably don't have to refocus on each photo, but we're doing it anyway. These things are characters. They're so bright. It's always nice that we can get a couple circles too, because usually getting a nice even circle out of these things is there's not a whole lot of in between. And either they work with you or they poop on you. I mean that in the sweetest possible way. But for whatever reason, right now, see that one corner just not playing, literally not having it. So I'm gonna just lay it down like that. I'm just gonna lay it down, man. Lay down the thunder. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, kapoop. You'll notice things like, oh, there's a little bit of the other one sort of in the corner. Not a big deal. Don't care. Not worried about that. You know, I'm not worried about, like, this is one of those strands. I can already tell you. It actually might curl. It would never be straight though. Yeah. Under pressure. Look at that. He's gonna, I mean, he is here to take the stereotypes and laugh straight in their face. Look at him. Look at him. He's a dude. He's a real bruh. He's a real bruh. What do we got? 4 so far? Yep, that's 4. Ooh, he's nice, man. He might actually be our champion. Now, the thing is, you may not be able to see this, but, oh, he does, man, everything I said about him was a lie. It's like he heard me and was like, bruh, I'll do whatever I want, however I want, on my own strand of crystals. So yeah, don't worry about all those little bits and crystals you see sort of peeking out to the sides. Everything kind of gets cropped, circularized, orbidorpidized, hippidippidude, hippidipidized. Alright, this one here is not. This one is not cooperating very well, but I do not care. He's in there. Basically, what we're looking for is 2 great photos and then like 4 backups. We've gotten 3 great photos so far, so actually I think we've gotten like 4. This is going to be number 5 here. You ever have like a hangnail and every time you use your finger it feels like your finger's exploding? I got that going on right now. I just thought you'd like to know. I mean, like, no joke. So I have this like massive hangnail on the edge of my thumb because I get really dry skin, that cracky skin. And I use moisturizers and all that stuff. So get off my back end about it. I take care of myself. Just this guy was particularly harsh. But anyway, what made it even better was that I was downstairs and my cat wanted my attention, and he clawed me directly into the middle of that hangnail and just like eviscerated it. Very rarely have I felt pain so just sharp and feisty. Feisty. In fact, what I might do is it's kind of be a little irritated right now. So let's wash it up. A little soap. Because working with these rocks, they're really dusty. They will just suck the moisture out of your hands. So if you have dry hands like I do, working with rocks just accelerates it. All right, a little bit of a little bit of hand sanitizer. Always feels nice on your open wound. And I'm gonna dry it off. And I'm gonna get a Band-Aid real quick, just so I don't have to feel this. I mean, it is just. This will also give me a chance to sort of go and grab a drink or something. So washing hands off. Everybody, go ahead and take a break. We'll be back in like 2 minutes. Does that sound good? I'm gonna put the starting soon sign up, just in case somebody shows up. We will be right back. Peace. See how easy that was? We're about to get some really interesting vocalizations because my drink of choice is this massive sparkling water. So there's gonna be some sounds. Stay hydrated. Yikes! Yay! Woo! All right. You know you're a lightweight when you can't handle the spicy water. Hello, children. Calm down. We all good. Shh. It's quiet time. It's quiet time. My dogs hear all. Like, if there is a squirrel farting in a tree within like 2 or 3 miles, my dogs are on it. They're like, Dad! And then every now and then you'll get some sort of like rowdy neighborhood dog barking. literally half a mile away, and my dogs are like, "No way, dude! This is our town!" And they'll run to like every window and just bark out of it. and then Pin will do what he just did, which is go sit on his. He literally has his own like Barco lounger that he's chilling on right now, because he's a fancy dog. He's a fancy cattle dog. He is the least cattle dog you could ever ask for, like without a doubt. All right, here we go. This is actually really cool. I think this looks cool. 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, kerpow. A kerpow. Look at that. That's crazy. Look at all those colors. The interesting thing about this is I've taken pictures pretty much of all the colors. I should have saved this one for last, because that's kind of what he is. He's like the swan song. He's like the roadmap of where we've been with all these strands. When I first saw the first box of strands, which is what these are called, I was so excited because I was like, oh my god, I've never done anything like this before. This will be fun. It'll be a nice break from the tedium. Like 20 later, you're like, this is the tedium now. The strands are the tedium. I need a break. I need a break from the strands. I feel bad for saying that too, because it's like you don't want to. I'm not trying to make the strands feel bad about themselves. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They just kind of have like a really sort of weird funfetti Sesame Street vibe to them. Ah, delicious. This is a sell-by date. Does water go bad? And my ear itched. Is that wrong? Look at this guy. Oh, he just wasn't. He wasn't meant to be. He was born weird. He wasn't born good. Alright. I need another strand here. Now is also the time where the back begins to hurt, because you have to lean over so much. And I'm like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I kind of have to twist and lean because I have this overhead camera system. Now, in the future, and maybe this will be sooner than later, sooner would be better than later, I might take into account some of the things that I've learned and build a better product table. This is actually a really good table. So if you're doing product photography, you always, well, I would say a majority of the time, greater than 75%, but less than 100%, you need some sort of surface to photograph on. Even if all you're doing is sort of like home decor type stuff, and you just gotta, really all you're doing is taking a picture of, a lamp on a table, it still sort of requires that extra bit to sort of set your products on. So this is actually like a really nice table that is a designer table from Italy, as far as I remember. It's not meant to be for photography. It's supposed to be sat on in a really beautiful place in your house, but I don't really have any place beautiful in my house. My house is a dark nest. This is like, I could rent this house out for a murder movie. Like the next Saw could happen in this house, or like an episode of Hoarders. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff here. But because this table is round and glass, it just makes it so easy. So easy to take product photography. Because I can shoot through the glass. The glass is, it does have a slight green tint to it, like a lot of glass does. It's very thick, so it's actually fairly good glass, but just the thickness alone, you can look right through it and see just that hint of green coming through. So you're going to say, well, what does that do for your color balance? Well, it totally messes up the color balance. But what we do, if you've noticed in the photos, is we blow out that bottom, so that way it so it's pure white. So that pass-through green in the negative space, not an issue. Now, the next thing you might ask is, well, does that green impart any of its color to the products? You know, like say a crystal type of deal? And that is an absolute yes. So that little bit of green will pass through into the products. I'm going to be honest with you, not normally that big of a deal. When you're working with these colored things, I mean, we're talking about it's imparting probably 0.5% of a hue into these things. But if you look at these, there's nothing there that has a green color to it except for the green colors, right? That green hue is being absorbed and just completely overpowered by the other colors' presence in the material. The only time I've had a problem with the green hue is when I am working with products that are extremely translucent and very neutral in their translucency. So some of the true clear quartz type of stuff, some really small thin rocks that don't have, you know, a lot sort of blocking to absorb, you know, like the transmission of light is pretty direct right through them. Those are a bit of a challenge. So what I'll do for those is I have a color checker, and I'll even take reference photos. And worst case scenario is I will just go in, and the easiest thing I have found to do is that I have, using some white paper and stuff like that, I have gone through and I have found sort of what I have to dial back to negate or to remove that green hue. But I only have to do that in really extreme cases. What's actually been more of a problem has been the fact that this white paper, which is plastic, has a much heavier yellow hue than the glass is green. And so that's been a fun adventure figuring that one out. And what I didn't realize is that most of these natural rocks, when they sort of, there's a lot of complex actions that happen when you put a bunch of rocks next to each other and light passes through and they sort of transmit the light that's passed through them to each other. You know, you kind of get these really weird voids in between the rocks that are like, they are colored by the rocks, right? The light hits the rock colors the light, and then the rock transmits that colored light to the rocks around it, which then absorb, readmit, and they do so with an influence of color based on their own structure. It's very fucking complicated to talk about. So complicated I even use the F word. One of the interesting things that I found out is that most rocks that are translucent naturally have a yellow translucency to them. But it was very confusing because I kept seeing this heavy yellow influence in the photos, and I was like, well, it's obviously from the paper, and I just didn't realize it was actually just from the rocks themselves. So, I did all the same sort of color correction that I was using for the green with the yellow, but I was having really weird results where just it drastically changed sort of the dynamics of the colors. So I knew something was going on, and that's when I realized, sort of removing that and using a different color pass through. I was like, oh, it's actually not even that. The problem isn't the yellow plastic or the yellow that the plastic imparts. It's the fact that a lot of these rocks are just yellow. In fact, they are ridiculously yellow. Like, so there's these opalites, and when you look at them, the color that you see in your mind first is sort of like this. You know how like milk almost kind of has like a bluish shadow to it. Like, it's hard to explain, but I've seen milk before. And you're like, oh, there's a kind of a weird blue cast in there almost. It seems in some circumstances. Well, when you look at the opalites, that's what they look. They kind of have this iridescent sort of blue to them. But they don't. They actually have a shit ton of yellow inside of them. It's just the fact that blue is that contrast color. It exists so much small, but because it's set against sort of like the sea of yellow, you perceive the blue so much more. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you saw a white egg in the middle of a black sand beach, the thing that you would sort of recognize instantly would be this egg, even though the predominant structure would be the black beach. You know what I mean? It's like color works in contrast the same way that luminance does. So I kept looking at these photos, and I'm like, why are these so damn yellow? Only to realize the opalite is so damn yellow. So, yeah. There's a lot of times where the problems that you're trying to solve are problems of perception rather than reality. Holy crap. Look at that. That is one anemic ass strand. What happened there, my mans? Oh, actually, he just got tied off poorly. Well, we'll fix that. We'll be bros. Does that work? Yeah. All right. I feel like I should trim that too, because that just looks, well, you know what? As soon as I tie it like a little too feisty. All right, let's cut that extra strand. Hello, the thief. So anyway, back to our discussion a second ago about tabletops. If you want to shoot photography, you need a tabletop. Definitely get a tabletop that allows you to sort of shoot through it. Feel free to make it. Plexiglass works great. I have learned that these rocks will scratch. I mean, duh, I get it. But I mean, they really will tear it up. And a lot of it's like sandpaper. And so you get these really fine scratches that dust will live in. And in some of those cases, once that dust lives in there, it is really hard to get it out. And so if you want like a flawless white surface, your best bet is actual glass. Go as clear and as thin as possible, because the thinner it is, the less color interference it'll have. Put white plexiglass underneath it. Your glass will be more durable, but it'll still have the nice, creamy, even white influence from the plexiglass beneath it. And you want that plexiglass or that white, that non-trans or barely translucent, like we got here, because it captures. There's a light under the table. I guess I should mention this. Underneath the table, there's a light. And that light is what kind of helps us keep our background pure white. And without that pure white light, our background, like in fact, if I turn it off, let's turn it all the way off, and we'll take a picture and I'll show you what happens if you don't have our background light on. Oh, the dog sensed something somewhere. All right, here we go. What does it look like without that background light? I mean, look how dead that is. And not only that, but you can also start to see shadows. You can start to see all the, you can start to see the shadows. You can start to see all the little scratches. You know, there's no life in the crystal at all. Now, if we go and we just turn that light back on, whoops, right there. And let's take a picture again. And here's what it looks like with the crystal, or with the light on. So that's with the light on, without, with, and without. Pretty cool, huh? So that's why these tabletop these clear tabletops for product photography are so important. Words are hard, man. All right. Words are hard, but water is so good. I'm always surprised by people who just love beer and alcohol and just endless amounts of like soda. I get the soda thing a little bit because I can be a sugar fiend under certain circumstances. Like once I'm in it, I'm in it. You know what I mean? It's like I can get on a sugar kick so easily. But just beer, ugh. Now, a mojito, that's something completely different. That's a whole different animal. Mojitos are a magical thing. That is a gift from the gods of alcohol. But beer is just so bitter. And I have some friends who just like crave that shit. I mean, I have friends who not only crave it, but who have struggled with it. And I understand if you're going for the effect. You know, if it's an escapism type of thing, but at that point, you know, I'm just like, there's way tastier ways to get there than beer. All right, here we go, guys. 1, 2. This is kind of a weird color combination. I'm not sold on this. I can't imagine this sort of weird Christmas amalgam. Kind of has I mean, the cool thing is, I guess it does have a little bit of sort of like an African Jamaican vibe to it. But other than that, whenever I see red and green without like another color, without yellow or black or whatever, I'm just like, it's boring. Oh, my back is just like screaming. It doesn't help that I spent the last week and a half tiling a bathroom. That is also contributing to a lot of the current discomfort. Here we go. All right, I think everything looks good. 1, 2, 3. Kerpow. Shebang. All right. Is that in focus? Why, it sure is. All right, so now we got to do our hand model poses here. I mean, you want to talk about like some questionable stuff. I mean, think about how these things are dyed. Would you want to put your hands in the dye that these are used? I mean, like any dye that can dye a crystal? you know it's got to be some fairly harsh stuff. All right, let's see what that looks like. That looks good. Looks really good. It is very, very Christmassy. Look how dark they get just on my skin. Isn't that crazy? Like how much the light from the table underneath really sort of helps keep these things alive. All right, here we go, laddie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. All right, that's number 1. Here comes number deuce. Actually, that's number 3. This is number 4. Get it in there like that. I'm shooting at f11. I don't know if that's readily obvious, but you know, the f11 definitely helps us sort of stay in focus. But even here, you can just barely start to see the edges get soft. You know, the nice thing is though, so I'm using like a 50 millimeter. I'm not even using the L series. This is the old school 50 millimeter f1.4. One of the best and cheapest lenses you could ever get. Hold on. Shh. Stop. You guys literally like bark and growl at nothing. This is why we could never live in an apartment, guys. We would get kicked out in 5 minutes. Or even worse, I would get kicked out. You guys might be allowed to stay because you're cute at least. The Thief. How you doing, girly? It smells so much. I mean, I'm so embarrassed to mention this, but it's like you can literally tell that it doesn't smell bad in this. It's man, look, work with me. Like I said, been windows closed, freezing temperatures with 3 dogs. Sometimes another 3 for months. We all shower, doggies get baths. All that stuff is true, but you know what I'm saying? What colors do we have left? We have a yellow. We kind of have a purple. I feel like I've done this purple like 3 times so far, man. I really feel like I've done it. Like, oh, whatever. We'll do it some more. We will do it some more. All right. This has been like a effing marathon in terms of look what's behind us. Can you see this insanity? Look at this. Every bag over here is rocks. There's a lot of rocks. There's a lot. Oh, look at that. What's up? How you doing? But just check that out. I mean, should we do a quick count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. Right here is 48. And then I got 2 more right there, perfectly, 49 and 50. And then there's more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more downstairs. There's a lot more. Oh my God. I mean, part of me is just like, I want to be done. I put so much effort into this stuff. Like anybody else would be like, bam, 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 done. They wouldn't be like trying to make sure the lighting is right. They wouldn't be trying to make sure that that every picture was like good enough to use. Like this is how most people would do it. They'd be like, and then this is the photo that would. I mean, this is better than what they would normally accomplish. But I mean, it wouldn't look too dissimilar. Now check this out. This is like super, super, super McDuper bright, right? Very translucent. The yellow obviously has a lot of translucency, a lot of transmissiveness to it. So when we take this picture, it's going to be very bright. But I do think this is a very strong. My toe's cramping. It's going to be kind of one of these guys where I can just bring the luminance down and kind of really control that. So it looks like, you know, a -20 is about where we are. And that is a solid representation of the color too. So, you know, again, these tools are amazing. These tools are amazing. We're just going to sort of like casually do these. And then let's do this for our last strand, which is coming up next, our last set. Let's time it. Let's time it. Or maybe we should time it right now. Hey Siri. Start timer.
For how long?
Oh, not that. Let's try it this way. Start stopwatch. All right. So I'm not going to worry too much about. Let's just kind of do this how we've been doing this. And then for the last one, we will genuinely try to beat whatever time this is. So click this, click this. Look, it came with a tiny bag with nothing in it. And again, just to make sure. Oops, that is the wrong slider. That's the slider we want. There is a philosophy in photography, which I think is the right philosophy, which is try to get your photo right in camera. I do think that, you know, it sort of depends on like where that philosophy comes into play. Because, you know, if you are a composite artist, then that makes no effing sense, right? Because like your photo is really sort of a tool to get you into Photoshop where you do all of your magic. And there are some just amazing composite artists out there who craft beautiful fantasy worlds and all that jazz. In that sort of regard, spending all your time to get it right in the camera, that just pertains to, you know, getting it so it's usable in Photoshop, or the easiest way to use it in Photoshop. But for everything else, product photography, portraits for sure, definitely portraits for sure, you know, I think you've got to put a real effort into getting it right in camera, because that just means it's easier to do or to deal with if there is a problem. It's easier to deal with, but even better, maybe there's no problem at all. Like all the effort you put into your photo is represented there, on screen the moment you import it. And there's really not a whole lot to do except for a couple color tweaks or whatever. And I really sort of prescribe to that as much as possible. And even here with these rocks, I definitely want to get it as right as possible, because regardless, there is always an amount of post that I have to do. Like I have to ensure that the backgrounds are pure white. You can tell that I'm not really spending a whole lot of time here making sure everything is perfectly centered. So I also crop everything. To sort of further that, everything gets cropped, because they need to be certain sizes. So I go through, crop everything, and then I have learned that the better the photo is, the easier it is to edit it when I do have problems. One common problem is the fact that when I cut these things out, because they're rocks, there's a lot of white space that sort of lives between all of these little rocks. If you look around here, we zoom in, and I'll do this real quick so you just kind of exaggerate it a little bit, but you can see like all these like little bits and pieces. Well, I need to be able to come in here with my tool, basically go like this, and you can see, because we have photographed this correctly, we're not losing any detail. Nothing is being turned red on the stones themselves, but I am able to sort of get in there and create a fairly nice solid white background around the stones and even in between the stones. It doesn't go all the way in, but that's fine, because there's a gradation that's hard to tell, but it's there sort of in the final product. And that is all because we're spending our times sort of taking these photos the best that we can. However, you've seen me now every time with these yellow ones, I'm constantly having to drag that slider, that luminance slider, so that way we can actually see the yellow better against the white. And that's one of those cases where I would say sometimes you got to photograph for what's faster. And we could certainly go through and spend maybe an hour, and that's not even exaggerating. It could take an hour to sort of problem solve and come up with a solution that would let us not have these be so overly sort of bright and washed out. We've already tried a little bit of different combinations between the top and bottom light, so it's probably more than that. Sometimes it's about introducing black cards to the sides, so that way the reflection sort of draws in the darkness. That can be a big help in some cases. Where are we at here? Or I can take literally 5 seconds and drag that luminance slider out, and we know it works. So therefore, that is the faster solution. And just to add to the validity of that, or why that's completely okay, is that once let's say we spent 2 hours, let's say we just spent 30 minutes getting everything. Actually, let's just say we only spent like 5 minutes. Say the solution was easy and we spend 5 minutes tweaking all the lights so we don't have the washed out look. Well, the next row of colored strands, which I'm already looking at, may not have the same problem. And if they do have the same problem, it's not going to be exactly the same. So then the solution that I spent, in our case, just 5 minutes fixing, I now have to revert it, undo it, change it. Whereas I could literally spend 5 seconds, do it, and then sync it across all photos and solve that problem in a fraction of the time. So, that's one of those things you've got to think about. If we were shooting a campaign for jewelry, there'd be a whole lot of discussions involved, a whole lot of budget, a whole lot of money. And the first thing I would say is, obviously we would put a lot more effort into making sure each photo, because, there's a budget for it. Not the case right now with this type of stuff. This is meant to be fast and quick because there isn't a big budget. But if we had these problems with a whole different set of products with a larger budget, we would problem solve differently. And each setup would probably take its own lighting solution to fix. And I'd be willing to spend a week on it if that's what it took. Not the case. Not the case here. So just think about that kind of stuff if you get into this kind of photography. And the same goes with everything. As a photographer, you always want to come back with the best possible picture, but there's a difference between the best possible $10,000 picture and the best possible $30 picture. And also, if you're like, well, I give $10,000 worth of quality to even my $30 clients, that's great and good for you. I would never, ever suggest that. All of my mentors who have been doing this way longer than me, who have succeeded way longer than me, anytime I gave more to a project than was warranted by budget, they were very quick to let me know that I needed to stop and I needed to pull it way back. It's not fair to you. And literally the only thing you're doing is you're just, in some ways, taking advantage. The client, you might say the client is taking advantage of you, but really it's you taking advantage of you because you're letting it happen. If you are a brand new photographer and you are trying to build a portfolio, what often happens is you say to yourself, well, I need to do these jobs for cheap so I can build a portfolio. Here's what I would suggest. In some ways, if you're going to get paid a very little amount for something, like if you need $100 and that $100 basically makes or breaks you in that moment, it's hard for me to tell you not to do it. You got your reasons, and who am I to say don't do it? However, that $100 is not make or break. In some ways, I have found that it's kind of better to do some of the stuff for free. Now, there's a really good reason, because obviously there's a big difference between no money and $100. But one of the things you can do is that when you do it for $100, is you can really sort of take control of every aspect, because then there's no question about, the tendency is when a client pays you money, $100, they feel like they have some sort of ownership, which they do. Your ability to control that level of ownership and how much of the project you own gets really fuzzy at those points. And another truism, which I 100% believe and stand by, is the fact that when clients who paid the least are the ones who demand the most. And I cannot tell you why this is true. I just know it's true. Like, whenever I would work on jobs with massive budgets, it's almost like the client is saying, I trust you. You're here because, I trust you with this money, and therefore your judgment is what I am buying. I am buying your idea. I am buying your ethic. I'm buying your style. There's just a whole bunch that kind of goes into that. Um, that's not true when somebody is spending a couple $100, or maybe, $1,000 might seem like a lot, but in the context of the job, it might be tiny. It might be a pittance compared to the amount of effort that needs to go into it. And therefore, those people are kind of like, what I need is, I need a shutter jockey. I just need somebody who hauls the equipment for me and presses the button. And really all you do is what I tell you to do. And, they may not trust you with the problems that need to be solved. And therefore, the problems take forever to solve. And you are just sitting there sort of riding the shutter button for them as they continually make really bad decisions, and you are stuck there living this nightmare, seeing it through. Make sense? Seems completely counterintuitive, but if you're brand new to the industry, you haven't experienced it, once you're in the industry for a couple years, you will definitely have experienced it. The one thing you can do to sort of fight that is to be really upfront at the start and just let people know how you approach things. For small budget projects now, I just let people know it's like, well, this is a really small budget. And therefore, I like to approach it kind of with my methodology, with my way of thinking things, I got to make it fun for me at these costs. Basically, that's what I say. It's like, it's got to be for this cost, it's got to be fun and advantageous for me. And, at that point, if somebody starts giving me shit, I let them know, hey, we're way outside of the scope of what I agreed to do and what I talked to you about. If you want me to pack up my gear and leave, that's what we'll do. I mean, I've had one job in my whole life where I completely compromised, and to this day, I feel like I am the chump. You know what I mean? Like, the client obviously is the absurd one, but I'm the chump for kind of seeing it through. All right. There we go. All right. So I'm not gonna check the timer yet. Let's put everything back in bags, because that'll be sort of the stopping point. And then we'll see. Then we'll focus and see how quickly we can burn through this last batch. And that's probably going to be it for the day, because the back is definitely a little sore, surprisingly. Just sort of leaning over. Not good practices. They have tables, like if you spend the thousands of dollars to get like a real true product photography table, they raise and lower, and all types of really cool stuff. I have yet to have a job that would allow me the security of spending that much money on a product table. But if anybody's watching, let me know. Let me know. We're We're rocking it, man. We're rocking it. Literally rocking it. All right, here's our last one. Zip it up. Put it in the bag. Let's see where we are on our timer. Hello, timer. We're wasting precious minutes. Where's our stopwatch? And stop. Okay. We'll go with it. 17 minutes 17 minutes 45 seconds. That's not bad. That's not bad. All right. So then for our last one, I'm just going to focus. I'm going to laser focus this, and we're going to see if like laser focusing makes a difference. All right, so here's our bag. Set it down. Let's reset. And then on the count of 5, we're going to just try to laser focus the shit out of this. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, go. And I mean, I am purposely going to try to go as fast as possible. Yo, these little bags are sabotaging me. All right. This guy kind of came out looking like a heart. How adorable. Another massive hair. That's not mine. Awesome. All right. Do a quick look, see if the colors are going to be fine. All right, and then let's just come over here and just see if. Yep, we're going to be good. Excellent. Anybody feel the focus? Does it feel different? Like a well-oiled machine or Tin Man or oh my god, my back hurts so bad. I can't even tell you. Can't even go into it right now. Ah, all right. Boogity biggity baggity boogity biggity. Like these. Put the guy up there like that. That's 4. Yeah, some of these are just like different shades. They do not all have the same amount of dye dip time. I suspect. I mean, I'm sure these are just done by somebody in a questionable location in the world. Did we only get 6 out? I guess we did. Probably happening at a factory you and I would not be interested in working at. All right, so I tried to do these in such a way. Come on now, everybody come on down. You're wasting my time here, Strand. Everybody's looking at me. Let's get this guy right in the sort of middle-ish area. Give it like that. Give it like that. Who's up there? Oh, it's so nice. So nice. Maybe get 2 more strands just that one's really vibrant. Oh man, yeah, that's way more vibrant than the other one, but you know, that's kind of what you end up with. It's almost iridescent, to be honest with you. Alright, push these up like that. Alright, cool. And this will be our modeling strand. The strand in the hand. It's the hand strand. All right. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Looking good. Let me see. Oh, nope, no, 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 no. No, 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 yeah. Okay, let me see that one. That should be better. Ah, that actually looks really nice. Let's get that background because I forgot to shoot the background the last time, and that definitely cost me some time. In some ways, this is cheating because I'm being so much better at the internal checklist in my head than I ever seem to be otherwise. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the fact that this one is vertical. It's just an anomaly. Fix that one in post. Doesn't count against our time. Leave me alone. Okay. Get this guy in. I'm kind of zoomed in, so it's hard to tell what's happening, but there we go. All right. All right, Neo. What if I just do that? Look at the difference between that one and... Oh yeah, it's big, you know. It's massive. Okay, cool. So we got those two. Let's see, yep, looking good. How's that look? Looks a little messy. There we go. Floor is jiggling a little bit. Let it settle. Take a picture. Let me take your picture. Right. If I was a speedrunner, I'd be like putting these into the bags as the picture was developing, but you know, I do want to get 2 of these out of the way. We got 1 more photo to take, and then we will see. What was our previous number? It was like 17 minutes 45 seconds. I just kind of jiggle these, and then I try to set them down so everything's sort of like, you know, it's a little random. And it's a little sawtooth pattern here. That looks cool. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Let's get our reflector on there in the right spot. 1, 2, 3. Move this guy. He done. Now let's get these guys into their bags. Get in there. Oh, this represents the end of the strands. I cannot tell you how exciting that is for me, because I thought I was done last week with these strands, and then I moved a box and saw a whole new box of strands. And I was kind of like, literally, there was an honest moment of sort of genuine depression. It's like I just like to be done. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I don't mind the strands, but the strands have become a bit tedious. Get in here, lad. All right, there's one. Boom. As soon as we get this last bag here zip-locked, and this main bag zip-locked, all right, 17 minutes, 45 seconds is the time we're trying to beat. And what we got was, woo, snap, 10 minutes, 33 seconds. What now? We just saved shaved? Aw, my lady says she loves me. Let me tell her I love her right back. I just said, I live you. I live you. All right. Woo! All right. I'm such a sissy. I think it's because of the tiles, to be honest with you. But that's it. We're done. We're done with the stream, guys. We're done and we're over. We're out. How long have we been streaming today? Where does it say? It usually says somewhere. Info? I don't have any notifications. That's fine. I don't care. We've been streaming for, it just refuses to tell me. We've been streaming for some time. We started at 1, before 1. It's now after 3. So we've been streaming for over 2 hours. That's cool. Awesome. So anyway, a lot of just sort of chit-chatting today. No real big secrets. We do have some more traditional photos coming up. And I think I said this like last time and we never really got to it. So, you know, this next time around, I'm hoping that we really get to it. Here, let me clean this. Here we go. It's very washed out. Very washed out. What can I do? It's a cheap thing. Oh, look at the white dust on me. Nice. All right, guys. So, we have animals. We have a box of animals, and they're kind of fun because it's like we do them 3 by 3. We line them up. We'll have this camera sort of like in a completely different position. There may be a couple more bags that we need to finish while the camera is sort of set up. You know, there's things that we got to do. Anyway, but that's it for now. I got the chills. I'm getting a little cold for some reason. So I will check you all later. Have an amazing evening. Be sure to check out warriorbeat.org. It is a non-profit organization that provides art therapy, mostly in the form of drumming and drum therapy to veterans with PTSD, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and other mental and physical challenges. All right, go check out warriorbeat.org and feel free to donate at warriorbeat.org and make a massive difference. Kind of been doing the charity thing here for free for the past few months. You know, we do it because that's what we got to do and that's what we love to do. But it would be, not gonna lie, make a big difference to have a couple dollars come in every now and then. And we do that through your charity. So guys, everybody, have an amazing day. We will talk to you soon, and